IYO SKY backstage fury after shocking Queen of the Ring payback falls short at SummerSlam. Picture this, 2 nights, 1 stadium, and a woman who has spent months promising the world she'd finally dethrone the champion, only to walk away with nothing but bruised ribs and a whole lot of receipts. That's the story brewing right now in WWE, and if you think this is over, you clearly haven't been paying attention. Before we get into the chaos, hit that subscribe button and tap the notification bell, because Wrestling Rush News breaks this stuff down before the dust even settles, and trust me, you don't want to miss what's coming next. Let's set the scene. Liv Morgan walked into SummerSlam Saturday night at US Bank Stadium in Minneapolis carrying a championship that critics love to trash. Over 100 days without a single successful title defense, that's not a reign, that's a hostage situation. And standing across the ring was IYO SKY, the newly crowned Queen of the Ring, a woman who had already beaten Morgan once in the tournament finals and was hungry to make it 2 for 2. This wasn't just a title match. This was a resume check. And for a while, it looked like Sky was about to cash in every bit of that momentum. She matched Morgan blow for blow, turned Judgment Day interference into fuel, and even hit Morgan with her own finisher, Oblivion, in a moment so poetic it practically wrote its own headline. Think of it like beating someone at their own game with their own playbook. That's the kind of statement Sky was making. But championships aren't won on poetry alone, and Morgan, dazed and desperate, found a way to flip a codebreaker into position before landing a second Oblivion of her own to seal the win. So here's where the plot thickens, and here's why the whispers of backstage tension are lighting up timelines everywhere. IYO SKY didn't just lose a wrestling match. She lost a match she was supposed to win, according to half the internet's prediction threads, and she lost it after Judgment Day Muscle tried to tip the scales in Morgan's favor yet again. If you've been following this build, you know Raquel Rodriguez and Roxanne Perez have been circling Morgan's title reign like sharks smelling blood in the water for months. Now imagine Sky, freshly pinned, watching the very stable that's been undermining the locker room for over a year get another win by association. That's not just frustration. That's the kind of storyline gasoline that turns a rivalry into a full-blown fire. Now let's talk about the wild card nobody saw coming, Danhausen. Yes, the cursed comedian himself has been an unofficial character in this entire saga, and it's honestly one of the strangest subplots WWE has cooked up in years. Morgan reportedly slapped him backstage before the Queen of the Ring finals, and wouldn't you know it, she lost that match to Sky almost immediately after. Curses in wrestling are usually just fun theater, but this one has lined up with results a little too conveniently for fans to ignore. So the question becomes, was Morgan's SummerSlam win proof the curse is broken, or is this the calm before an even bigger storm? Because if there's one thing we know about wrestling curses, they rarely stay quiet for long. Here's the part that should really have you leaning forward. Sky isn't just an underdog chasing gold anymore, she's a former multi-time women's champion with a resume that speaks louder than any commentary team could. Losing a title match is one thing. Losing it while watching a faction game the system in real time is another thing entirely, and championship reigns built on shaky ground have a funny way of collapsing the moment the wrong person decides they've had enough. If Sky channels this loss the way betrayal usually gets channeled in wrestling, we're not looking at a one-off rematch clause. We're looking at a full-blown campaign to expose Judgment Day's influence over the title picture, and possibly even ally with unlikely names like Rodriguez, who has her own bone to pick with Morgan after being cost matches earlier this year. And let's not forget the visual that's already spreading everywhere, Morgan walking out of that arena with a fresh black eye, a title belt over her shoulder, and a look that says the win cost her more than she's letting on. Champions who look that beaten up after a successful defense tend to become targets, not just for challengers, but for opportunists waiting for the first sign of weakness. In wrestling, blood in the water attracts more than one predator, and right now, Liv Morgan's water is looking awfully red. So where does this go from here? Does Sky demand an immediate rematch and cash in every ounce of credibility she's built? Does Judgment Day's involvement finally push someone in that locker room past their breaking point? Or does Danhausen's mysterious curse decide it isn't finished with Liv Morgan just yet? One thing is certain, this rivalry isn't ending with a pinfall in Minneapolis. It's just getting started, and if WWE's booking pattern over the last year has taught us anything, the fallout from a loss like this always hits harder than the match itself. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.